Hey there, everybody. It's Eternal Snowman here, and we're back for another episode of BLT recap and highlights, but this time without the highlights. And then we're going to be going through the predicts. So I chose not to do highlights because there's a lot of garbage matches at the end there, and I didn't really feel like there were a lot of standout matches this week. But I do want to talk about the matchups and what all the teams needed coming into this week. So coming into this week, the Alakazams would clinch their spot with a win over the Prehistorics and would require the Poliwraths to lose to get first seed. So they need to actually, if they win by an adequate amount, I believe even a tie with the Poliwraths would put them in first seed, or the Poliwraths tying would put them in first seed. The Poliwraths just needed to tie to secure their place in the semifinals, and the Prehistorics needed to win to secure their place in semifinals. Same conditions as Alakazams to get first seed. And if Poliwraths get first place, then they if they win, they will get guaranteed first place. On the other side of the group, or in the Pikachu group, the Weaviles needed to, so the Blastoises, and the Bolts were out. So DNCs were already out in this group. So what the Blastoises needed is that they needed the Snorlaxes to win, and they needed to beat the DNCs, and the win-loss between those, they needed a win-loss that's big enough. So if they won 5-3 and the Snorlaxes won 5-3, that would still not be enough to put them through. It would require them to win either 6-2 and us to win 5-3, or them to win 5-3 and us to win 6-2. And any more than that would be okay for the Weaviles, and the Weaviles just needed to tie to get through. If they lost, then they would also require the Blastoises to not win by too much. Same conditions for the Blastoises to qualify. So we can go through the week. So MJ versus Ham ended up being a meme match because the series is already decided at that point, meaning the Prehistorics are out at that point. But that was a fun watch. Sand versus Dennis was interesting. Sand pulling out another win, being very impressive this BLT in OU. UU was Fejiro versus Sanzi, and once again, Fejiro managed to pull out a win this time. Once again for the Alakazams, and that was the clinching match actually, but also not super interesting. King of Crimea managed to beat Karo relatively solidly. Snow Jinri or Ziri managed to beat JR Smash in a solid. This was a game after the series had been decided, and JR Smash brought some memes. Mail versus London was pretty close, but Mail managed to win over London, who has been streaking recently, but did not manage to pick up this win. Anime Sans beat ABBP, and Magma beat Richard Pepper in mono, which was pretty solid. And with that, the Alakazams did qualify for semis, and the Poliwraths winning means they got first seed. So we play the Alakazams next week, where the Poliwraths played the Weaviles. And first seed actually means a lot because the second seed in our group was a lot weaker than the first seed. So the other team had a lot to play for. Micro versus Byron was I don't remember exactly what that game looked like, but Micro won. Let's see. It's okay. Big Boy versus Arsenine. Big Boy pulled out another solid win. Same with Omnis Draco and the Welsh Wall, all expected to win. Plaz managed to pick up a win, and Simbo as well. SMB beat Jaspros, and Poison Adhesive beat Belmont Gabriel. The only issue with this, and the reason why I didn't want to analyze a lot of these games, is because the only series in this entire week that actually both sides had something to play for was Alakazams versus Prehistorics. Every other team had a team that was already clinched for playoffs versus a team or a team that has no chance at playoffs. So in this case, Bolts have no chance at playoffs, In the Lax versus Weaviles, the Lax is already clinched, and then the other one, which was the Blastoises versus the DNCs that had already failed to make playoffs. So like a lot of these matches are like low stakes, and they didn't really try their hardest. And it was pretty apparent in some of the team selection, playing selection, and etc. Only this series was really like that, but it was pretty clear but at the beginning that Alakazams would win that when they jumped out to a really early lead. This one, Well Jesus beat PKD, who brought the same team again. Beds beat Sharp in a close match. Truth beat Naruto. Morgan or not lost to Serene's Grace, who won again. Akiko beat Good very solidly. Luthier beat Silvio Guacamole in a meme match. He used my Electric Terrain team, which was pretty funny. Frisso beat Rafua, and Spitfire Arcanine beat Raj.Shub. So, the main portion that I wanted to talk about in this video was actually the predicts, because there are going to be a lot of good matches coming up here in the semifinals, and it's going to be an extremely interesting two series. One obviously more than another. This one is going to be extremely good. The Alakazams versus the Snorlaxes. Once again, no E in the Snorlaxes, but whatever. I think this is going to be one of the best series of this BLT, probably better than the finals, whatever the finals ends up being. And it's going to be a great series with every single match being pretty close. Of course, the highlight, myself versus MJ, is going to be a slug fest, and also Ziri versus Sanjay is going to be amazing. And I just think that it's going to be one of the highest level matches that we have seen so far. And it's going to be a true spectacle to behold, with every single, not really like a weak match to really look at. But it's going to be extremely fun, and I won't do predicts because I don't want to predict for my own team and jinx them or whatever, but I do think it's going to be a really fun match, and I'll be breaking down my own match versus MJ and maybe some of the other matches that I think are interesting between us and Alakazams after this week. And the other match is the Pastoria Poliwraths versus the White Forest Weaviles. I do think this is a lot more one-sided, with the Poliwraths being heavily favored to win here. Micro versus TR Hurricane is going to be heavily favored towards Micro. Even though he's not an Ubers main, he's shown that he can still hang with the best of them. Big Boy versus Raftel Reshrems. I think Big Boy is heavily favored. I don't think it's even close to being close. I think it's going to be a huge, hugely in Big Boy's favor. Omnis Draco versus Jordan is going to be the closest match of this set. And I think Jordan is a bit better at UU than Omnis Draco, but it's definitely going to be close. And it's also a must-win match for the Weaviles, because if they lose this match, then it is going to be really hard for them to win, since these the Ubers and OU match are really hard. The Welshwall versus Negatory is going to be heavily favored towards the Welshwall. Although Negatory is not bad at RU, he's definitely not on the same level as the Welshwall at all. And it's going to be really hard for if the Welshwall does get upset, though. That is one of the weaknesses that I could see, because he has shown that he could potentially show weaknesses to Pokemon that, like Barbaracle, whatever, however you pronounce that Pokemon. And so if he does get cheesed out some way, then it might be something that's to look at the Poliwraths side. Twixtree versus Skelos. I'm favoring Skelos here, but I do think it's going to be close. I think Skelos is a lot more well-versed in NU and knows how to play the tier a lot better than Twixtree can. But I don't think that Twixtree is like a bad player by any means, and he could definitely pull it out. It will be close, but I still would favor Skelos pretty heavily. Mikab versus Simbo is going to be a close one. Simbo, I think, has more clout coming into this match. versus Mikav, who is more of a like a newcomer to the LC scene. However, Mikav has shown up a lot better than Simbo at this tournament. I think it's going to be a close one of the highlight matches of this uh, set, and I would favor Simbo slightly. Cheese versus King Leo. Cheese is going to be heavily favored versus King Leo, even though King Leo is not a bad player. I don't think he holds a candle to Cheese's much better doubles play, especially after he just won the first round of the doubles playoffs. So congrats to him. And the last one is Jaspros versus Peachy Clouds. I actually have no idea how mono is going to go. I would give the edge to Peachy Clouds a little bit, but just as he has probably more experience in mono. I don't know Jaspros' experience in mono, but I don't think it's as much as Peachy Clouds is. However, once again, I think it's close enough to the point where if Jaspros gets a good matchup, or even like a decent matchup, it's possible for him to outplay. So it's a close match. So going down the line, I would favor the Poliwraths in Ubers, OU, RU, LC, and doubles for those 5 matches, which if they take all 5 of those, they will win, versus the Weaviles, who will I favor in UU, NU, and Mono. But all of those are still close, as I think that the Poliwraths could take all of them. But to win, I would have them, they would need to upset either Doe or RU or LC. 2 of those 3 or 1 of those 3, and bring it to a tiebreaker and potentially win a tiebreaker. I think that they have the skill set necessary to win a tiebreaker because they have Jordan to play OU, and then they could pick something like NU for Skilos, and then they would have to just win those 2, the NU and the OU, and that's very much possible. So that is how the Weaviles could win it, and how the Pastoria Poliwraths could win it. I do think this is going to be a very good semifinals, and I'm hoping to get some really good matches that I can break down for you guys next week. I hope you guys enjoyed, and that's about it for this week's recap and predictions, and thank you for watching.